That's who I am, and underneath my name is director, camera operator, and editor. That's what I've done over my career. And I'm sure some of you guys will be doing the same things. So you don't just have to do one job, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the films that excelled last year in the Pt.1 Awards. We're going to discover what the craft of filmmaking is all about, and I'm also going to show you some examples from the film industry of how they do it. Okay, the craft of filmmaking. Let's go through them one at a time. Number one, the concept is the first thing. It all starts here. This is the big idea. Now, from the big idea, you move on to the script. And following the script, once you've got a script down, you move on to the all-important shoot. Okay? Number four, sound. Sound can be many things, but it must be good quality. And finally, number five, the edit. This is where all the hard work comes together for you to tell your story. So these 5 elements are what we're going to talk about today, but coincidentally, they're also the 5 categories of the Spotlight Awards. So if you can excel in these individually, you might win a Spotlight Award. And if you can excel in all of these collectively, you might win a state or a national award. So that's why we're going to talk about these things today. All right, before I rave on for too long, I'd like to show you a short clip from last year's Pt.1 Awards. Now, this was the Spotlight Award winner for concept, and it's called Communication Through the Ages.
Speech is one of the most powerful, immediate and flexible ways of communicating. The development of speech is considered one of the most important developments in the history of communication. Many of us take speech for granted, however, it is not as easy as it seems. Many scientists believe that our distant ancestors only developed speech 300,000 years ago. The development of the modern-day alphabet allowed anything that we can say out loud to be written down. The English alphabet was only completed less than 200 years ago. Look, I've invented the first letter. I call it syllable.
A?
I said, I've invented the first letter. I call it syllable.
A?
I said, hey, wait a minute. I will now call it the letter A.
So why do you think the judges liked that particular video? We're talking about concept here, so this is the idea. So what do you think they liked about it? Anybody? Yeah? It
was funny.
It was funny, so it made you laugh, so it got you in. Anything else? Do you think it was clever, or maybe it showed some creativity? Well, what is creativity? Creativity is the ability to have imaginative, artistic, and inventive thoughts. Very simple. We need this. We need to use our imagination. Okay, show of hands here, and I reckon we should see every hand go up. Who daydreams in class here? Come on, every hand should be going up. I daydream in class, you should. Okay, if you don't daydream in class, you dream, all right? So what are some of the things you daydream about? Somebody? Somebody? Yeah, what do you daydream about? Disneyland. Yeah. Anything else? Yep. You got your hand up? No? Usually we daydream about positive things, things that we want to do or have done. So this is actually our imagination going to work. Now, how cool would it be if you could make a film as easy as you dream or daydream? Well, you can if you follow what I'm going to talk about today. Okay, filmmaking is about storytelling. You've got to make sure that the story you're telling is worth telling. So it's got to be an interesting story, yeah? And firstly, you have to come up with a style. What sort of style is your film going to be? Well, it can be any one of these things. Might be a drama, documentary, comedy. You know, that last one was pretty funny. Music video. It can be many, many things. So decide in your concept, not when you're writing your script, but in your concept, what your style is going to be. Okay, let's now move on to the script. This is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. The first question you ask yourself is, what is the point of the story that I want to tell? What's the focus? Now, it's really important to be original with your story. It's very easy to copy, but the judges will like your film if you come up with an original idea. Does anyone watch SBS television? Yeah, okay. Well, when you see a documentary on television, a graphic comes up and it says something like, there are millions of stories out there, this is just one of them. Now what they're trying to say is exactly that. There are millions of things you can make a film on, but make it original. Okay, so if you don't know about the story you're going to tell, so if it's a subject that you know lots about, like your school, that's great, but if you're going to tell a story about something that you don't know a lot about, just research it. Get on the web. Google is a fantastic friend. Okay, so really important that you get your facts and figures right before you go to script. And the best way to start your script is with an outline. Who does outlines before they write an essay or whatever at school? Yeah, do you know what an outline is? Outline is just a starting point. It's a simple, basic, short sentence that describes how you're going to tell your story. Very simple. Ask your teachers what an outline is. I won't go into it today. Now, a script doesn't have to be the spoken word. You can use pictures and characters to tell your story, like they did in that last film. They were dressed up as characters. It wasn't just a narrator telling a story. They did it in an interesting fashion. Now, have you done this at school? The structure of a script? Yep. Hands up who knows what a beginning, middle and end is. Yep, great. So what are they? What are the beginning, middle and end? The beginning is where you give a hint as to what's going to happen. It's short. The middle is the meat and the potatoes of the story. This is where the main action takes place, and the end wraps the whole story up. Okay? Very simple. So you have to have a conclusion. Remember with your scripts to keep them simple and interesting. Let's have a look at another clip now from last year. This clip is called Litter is Bitter, and it won an award for writing or script. Let's have a look.
Under the sea. Yo, buddy, what's up?
The sky.
I didn't mean that up. I meant how are you?
Can't you see I'm choking, you silly shot?
Oh yeah, you've got fishing line around your neck. Don't worry, I'll help you get it off.
Ah, what a relief. I don't like those fishermen who throw fishing line in the water.
Hey, never mind about marine pollution. What about the inconvenient truth about global warming?
Dude, you're in the wrong movie. Go talk to Al Gore.
I'm Professor Fisher from the Institute of Marine Life Research, and I can tell you why there are less fish around. There is too much litter in our ocean.
Okay, let's quickly do a critique on that little film. What was the point or the subject matter of the story? Yep, you there.
Rubbish?
Yeah, littering. Yep. It also touched on global warming, but that was the point of the story. So that covers off over this first thing up here. It was an original story. We all know a lot about littering, and they did too, but they made it interesting. So it was still an original story. They had to do some research as well to get all those facts and figures across of how many fish were dying and, water and plastic bags and so forth. So that added to it, but it didn't get bogged down with too much information. So try and keep a balance with your scripts with factual information and interesting stuff. No doubt they started with an outline because it was quite a comprehensive script. And again, the last one, the characters, the little puppet, the shark, which was an animated, and the kids dressed up as the dolphins. They made telling the story really interesting. Before we talk about the creative use of the camera, I want to show you a small part of last year's Pt.1 winner for videography. It's called Let the Language Be Spoken.
I walk the city streets alone, I walk the streets at night. I stay down on the back streets, so I stay well out of sight. Hurtful and suspicious stares, I hope you understand. Makes me feel like a stranger in my own land. So please don't look at me, I guess it's just my foolish pride. Sometimes I just feel as though I got no place to hide. I wish that for just a while you could see the things I see, and maybe you would understand these feelings inside me.
That film was the winner of videography last year. Some of the things the judges look for in videography are framing, what the pictures are like, composition, what's inside the picture, lighting, how it's lit, time of day, artificial or natural light, the locations that are used, the shot sizes. Something else that we really liked about that particular clip was, and it's not in this craft category, but it's the sound. A beautiful original piece of music was created, and the schools that actually create original music generally do well. So we'll talk about sound a little bit later, but that's just a point I wanted to raise there. Let's briefly talk about some basics, camera basics. That first one up there, white balance. How many of you are familiar with your cameras, as camera operators? Do you know what I'm saying when I say white balance? Anybody? Maybe? I'll just explain quickly what white balance is. It's really important. The camera is an electronic device. When you are in an environment, you have lighting. Today we have these two tungsten lights and these downlights. This is artificial light. We had to do a white balance because we're actually recording today's presentation, so the schools that couldn't make it can actually see our presentation. So before we started this morning, we did a white balance to let the camera know what colour white is. If we didn't, this backdrop would look yellow when recorded, or it might look pink, or it might look green. I mean the white part of it. So you can set the camera on AWB, which is auto white balance. If you don't know how to set it manually, just set it to AWB. That way, if you go outside to shoot, it will automatically balance to white, the same as inside if it's artificial light, fluoro, tungsten, whatever. Okay. Focus, manual focus. Your camera has autofocus. Please do not use autofocus in your film. The reason not to use autofocus, the camera will hunt looking for focus. If I pointed the camera towards you guys here, am I actually trying to focus on you guys in the front, or maybe you in the second row, or maybe you in the fourth row? If the camera moves slightly, it will look to focus there. If you set it on manual, you can just manually focus to you guys on the front. It'll be sharp and it'll look fantastic. Please use manual focus. Wherever possible, use your tripod. Now, why would I say use a tripod? Yep, you. Yes, level. That's a very good one. Why else? Yep.
To keep it from shaking.
Yes, to stop camera shake. Anything else? Yeah.
Keep it still.
Keep it still. They're all the same sort of things. How about if you want to do a nice panning shot, where you pan the camera? That's panning, means panning it left to right. Or tilt from up high down low. Good use of the tripod.